We're live, brother.
We're live and we are getting ready.
Show starting soon.
Shows
Upgrading the show, even though we're technically already ready.
No, we're not ready yet. See. Look, there we go. Look, now I got the stream up.
There
Bada
it
bing, bada
is.
boom. We getting her pulled up, baby. Look at that thumbnail. We are in here.
You know people can hear you right now, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Giving a little like on the video. We're getting ready. We're getting ready for a live Vault Talk episode, baby. Let's go.
Production team was late today. That's why it took a little
Graphic
while.
design team didn't hit their deadline.
They did not. They really didn't. All right.
That's us, by the way. Okay. All right.
All right.
Shall we?
Let's go. We are live.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. You are here with myself, Blake, and you are here with my brother, Austin. And we are here to talk all things volunteer sports. Today, Austin, we were going to just be talking a little baseball. Okay. We're going to talk about a tough road loss to LSU. Okay. A little spoiler there that we're going to have to get through that. But some news broke recently within the past 24 hours that is pretty huge. Merklinger has signed a new contract, well, quote unquote contract, right, for his NIL money. And Heupel also confirmed on the Big Orange Caravan that there is going to be a QB battle, right? So we've talked about this with the Aguilar commit. And by the way, he also officially committed. So there's all kinds of news still rolling in for football. And now, Austin, I mean, all these signs point to this is going to be a battle.
Well, no question. Josh Heupel said it himself, so we got to believe Josh Heupel. Literally today on the Big Orange Caravan. So, I mean, just a couple hours ago, Josh Heupel said, we've got the opportunity to have a great competition at the quarterback position. I like the skill sets of the guys that are in there. I like their mindset. He went on to say, you've got to learn it and earn it and go take the job. The standard is to have a guy who's ready to play at a championship level. The learn it and earn it has to be directed towards Joey Aguilar. I mean, Merklinger too, though, because it's going to be the first time he's taking any sort of starting reps. I mean, he just didn't through the spring. That's one of the reasons the Nico situation kind of screwed us so badly. But yeah, it's 100% going to be a quarterback battle, which is very relieving to me that the coach has confirmed that, because we've been covering the situation, Blake, the main thing I've been saying is that I want it to be a battle. For one, Joey Aguilar has to learn the system in just a couple of months. And for two, I think he's a limited player. So I think Merklinger has more upside. He also knows the system better. So I think it just makes way more sense for this to be a battle.
Absolutely it does. And, you know, that kind of, like you said, confirms what we were talking about in our most recent Aguilar and Merklinger episode, the QB battle episode, which is, you know, hey, it just makes sense, right? Yes, Aguilar is more experienced, but he's a boomer bust kind of guy. And he's only going to have a couple months to learn this system. And so you've got to give Merklinger a chance. And you and I are pretty high on Merklinger, you know, potentially being able to win this battle. So, folks, we're going to dig more into this topic of conversation here. We appreciate you guys, you early birds who are joining the stream right away. That means you've got your notifications on, and
appreciate Ryan for watching, always supporting and commenting.
Absolutely.
Ryan, appreciate that, man.
All of our supporters who are just constantly supporting us, Ryan, everyone else who's been commenting, and again, these early birds who are jumping right into the stream right as soon as we start. That means you've got your notifications on, and that means I love you. Okay, thank you for having subscribed and having those notifications on. But if you haven't already, please go ahead and give us a subscription and give us a like on the video so we can get rolling on this live stream. But Austin, just again to preview the show, we're going to dig more into this QB battle between Merklinger and Aguilar. We're going to dig into all the details surrounding that. There's a couple different, you know, things that we got to talk about, like that I hinted at the beginning of the show, and then we're going to cover the very difficult road loss to LSU for the Baseballs That one was very frustrating to me, especially the Friday night game. We talked about that. It was epic meltdown. So we're gonna talk about those frustrations. Saturday was a highlight. A little spoiler here. Saturday was a bright spot for sure in that series. So we'll cover all of that. But again, folks, thanks for joining us. We're going to now hop into this conversation on the QB1 battle. And the first thing we got to talk about, Austin, was really kind of the first news that broke recently, which is this new contract. Again, I use contract loosely, right? But this contract that Merklinger has signed, this new NIL deal, that means that, I mean, it means a lot of things, right? At face value, it's like, okay, we had more money open up from losing Nico and not paying Joey Aguilar as much as Nico. And Merklinger's agents were probably like, or whoever his quote unquote agents are, obviously they had leverage in this situation. But at the end of the day, to us, it kind of signifies that, hey, they believe in Merklinger and it has to be a battle.
Yeah, before I even saw Josh Heupel's quote, I knew when I saw Merklinger signed a new deal. That's because, again, like you said, the leverage is there, and he's going to be competing for the starting job. The whole contract thing, man. I mean, we've kind of beating this dead horse, but it's frustrating for a lot of fans. Like, a lot of fans are frustrated that players can basically renegotiate anytime, anywhere, anytime they decide to, and if a team doesn't oblige, then the player will hit the portal. I'm sure that those talks were had with Merklinger. It's just that time. I mean, you almost can't blame the kid or the agent, because it's just like you kind of have to take advantage of the landscape. It's more so the system itself that's the issue, and it's it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a battle, man. I mean, Coach Heupel basically came out and confirmed it today. And to me, dude, I'm gonna say this until I'm wrong. It feels like Merklinger should come out on top on it. It really should. Aguilar also officially committed today, but I just think Aguilar has a big hill to climb, and I get we paid him, but we don't know what we paid Merklinger either. Blake, we have no idea. We were trying to find those details on what we actually paid Jake Merklinger, but I mean, if somebody knows in the chat, we would love to hear if you have actual information on his contract details, his new contract. And that's why we put contract in quotes, because it really doesn't mean anything. He probably had a contract before this Nico situation happened, but then the Nico situation happens and they just rip that old contract up. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, and I was going to say that we haven't been able to confirm yet what the actual details are on the contract that Merklinger signed. So we'll see as news comes out. I know you're laughing at the chat. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that in a second.
I am just curious.
I'm not going to get derailed by.
Well, no, we're talking here. We're just having a conversation, man. What fan or what team are you a fan of? And I can't really pronounce your name, to be honest with you. And dude, to be completely frank, if you're a Tennessee fan, if you've watched our stuff before, I'm not going to say we're going to be the worst team in the SEC, but there is major question marks about this team. Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's maybe. I mean, Kentucky might struggle as well, but listen, at the end of the day, there's a lot of question marks, and the biggest question mark, Blake, is this battle. Like, who's going to be the quarterback? And really, we don't know how they're going to play either. We just haven't seen enough of Merklinger. I think we've seen enough of Aguilar to know the kind of player he is. But I'll reiterate too, like, his biggest issue is his turnovers. And that's what makes him kind of fascinating in Heupel's offense, is because you get him in Heupel's offense, all of a sudden Heupel has coached turnovers out of a lot of other quarterbacks. So maybe he can do the same thing with Joey Aguilar. I just think Merklinger's ceiling is a lot higher, to be completely honest with you, dude. It just makes so much more sense to me if he won this job. But like Heupel said, someone's going to have to earn it, dude. Someone's going to actually have to earn it and take over. And I'll be interested to see who that actually is at the end of the day.
I think this guy's name is pronounced Nutter Butter Posse. So that should tell you everything you need to know about him. He says Tennessee wishes they had Calzada or Cutter Bowley. Change my mind. I don't know what this guy. I think he's trying to get some silliness going here in the chat. But yeah, so we haven't been able to confirm the details on the contract yet for Merklinger. We will confirm those as soon as we can, as soon as that information comes out. If it comes out, we'll see. Obviously, it's not as high profile as something like Nico and his situation. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I still am high on Merklinger. I still think I favor him to win the battle. I kind of think that he, he's in a better position, like we've been talking about, to be able to go in and win games. Because at the end of the day, the coaching staff needs to go with who's going to win games, right? And that's what a lot of people have kind of commented on our videos so far is, they're like, hey, I don't really care who wins the QB battle. I want it to be whoever wins us football games. And that's absolutely, at the end of the day, I think we all agree on that. I think it's just that, Merklinger is at this point in time he's in a better position to be that guy who's going to win us games. Right.
Very possible. And it's interesting though. We really don't know who that's going to be, and even the coaching staff won't really know who's going to be better equipped to win games until they play. And that's why I'm kind of concerned that we open with Syracuse. I would feel much more comfortable if we opened with one of our lesser opponents this year, just because then in that case, okay, you can go out and play both. Like you can alternate drives and you can really see, okay, who's actually a gamer, who's going to come. Because Merklinger has very little SEC game experience, dude. Like pretty much none, right? Like he has barely played in the SEC, if at all, in conference games. I don't think he has played in conference games. So at the end of the day, dude, like we're not going to know until they get in the game. And it's kind of unfortunate. Game one, you can't really go back and forth between drives, man. You really can't. You have to have your guy by Syracuse, because I've talked about Syracuse is no slouch, man. Like we if that's a very losable game.
Oh,
and just like every season, dude, that first game can just set the tone. It can set the tone for the entire season. That first like big out of conference game really does set the tone. So who knows, man? It's again, there's so many question marks about the team in general, not just the quarterback position. Even before Nico left, we talked about, Blake, how there was question marks at the QB position, even with Nico. So we don't really know a lot about this 2025 team. It's kind of just an unknown. We expect the defense to get worse, right? That's our expectation. We just had our NFL draft review show going over all the Vols that got drafted. If you watched that video, you saw that James Pierce and Omar Norman-Lott just both went in the top 2 rounds of the NFL draft. 2 great defensive linemen. So, yeah, I mean, that's a lot to lose on the defense. Jermon McCoy's health is in question to start the season with that ACL tear. So I just fully expect the defense to regress. But the offense was so bad at points last year, dude. It's almost like, could it possibly get worse? And maybe it could. I mean, maybe it could. That's kind of grim to think about. But you would expect the offense to take a step forward, dude. I mean, 3 first halves in a row without scoring a point, dude. That's not going to be acceptable this year. It's just not, especially with our defense losing the pieces that that has lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the offense, I can't help but to think that a lot of that ineptitude was a result of Nico's indecisiveness and his, not being able to progress through these reads and make a quick decision. And so even if Aguilar does win the QB battle, we've talked about that as well, that, hey, maybe he'll end up with a few more interceptions than we've been used to the past few years. But at the end of the day, at least he'll make a decision, and maybe our offense will have an opportunity to score more than we did last season. So that's all I'm hoping for, is that, like you said, no more first halves without scoring a point. I mean, we're just not going to be able to do that this year, especially with how our defense is going to regress simply because we're losing such huge key pieces, right? James Pierce Jr., Omar Norman Lott, like you mentioned just a second ago. So the defense, not for the fault of Tim Banks or anyone necessarily, it's just that we're losing some really great talent. And so the defense is going to be, it's not going to be what it was last year. And so this offense has got to score some more points.
I kicked
So
Nutter Butter Posse from the chat. Listen, dude, it's fine. We accept other fan bases, right? We are good with real discourse, but you can't hate on the great Zakai Ziegler, man. Don't go there. Let's not do all that. And if you're talking about his game, that's one thing, but don't do all that, man. Yeah, it does look weird now, D. My bad about that, but yeah, Nutter Butter had to go. Listen, we're good for ball discourse. If you're a fan of another team, that's fine. We will talk ball all day, man. We follow SEC football and we'll go back and forth. But don't be a troll. That's all we ask. Don't be a troll. That's it. But yeah, dude, going back to the QB competition, it's gonna be fun to watch, man. I just think, listen, one thing that we have to keep in mind, Blake, even though it is looking grim, right? There's a lot of question marks about this team. There's a lot of question marks about do we have enough talent to compete with the best of best rosters in college football? We just had that discussion on the draft show. To push the draft show one more time, we just had that discussion. We had only 4 players drafted. If you look at the best teams in the league, the college football, they're getting 10 plus players drafted yearly. So we're not there yet. But we got to keep this in mind, dude. Merklinger could be better than Nico. He could be.
yes.
We don't know
And,
because we
and
have seen very little of him play. And what we saw of Nico wasn't that good. It just wasn't that good. So Merklinger could be better. Now, Aguilar, I have more questions about, but Merklinger is kind of like the great unknown, man. And that's why I'm intrigued by him.
yeah, well, we in our last episode, our recorded episode on the Aguilar situation, we talked about you came up with a great analogy. It could be a lot like the Mr. Beast mystery box, right? It could be a Feastables or it could be a Lambo. And the fact of the matter is that Merklinger absolutely could end up being better than Nico because Nico was just average last year, and we had questions about him coming into this year already. And that gets to actually Rick's first message here about, hey, he says, hey, T. Martin's first year, Peyton was gone. No one was expecting a national championship team. And then the first game that year was at Syracuse. Look, Rick, and any of you who are maybe newer to the podcast, you all, or if you've been a longtime listener, what you should know is that I'm the historical guy. Okay, so I love drawing analogies, especially to '98, baby. And Rick, 1,000%, I love that analogy. Our first game was against Syracuse, and hey, we did have an unknown QB starting the year. Especially following up Peyton Manning, the GOAT Peyton Manning. How can you do that? And then boom, T. Martin came and won a national championship.
And
Absolutely love that point, Rick.
what a QB battle to open the season. Donovan McNabb versus T. Martin. What a QB battle that was. Great game, too, if I remember correctly, Blake. That was a very close
Yep,
game that came down to the wire. So, yeah, man, that is interesting, opening with Syracuse. Now, I'm not overly optimistic about this upcoming season. I try to be realistic with our listeners because that's just the kind of fan I am. Like, and I'm also not doom and gloom though, right? I'm not sitting here and guaranteeing 5-7 because we have an unknown at the most important position, dude. This is the most important position on the football field. So if we hit on Merklinger, then all of a sudden this team's ceiling goes way up. But we just don't know until we see him play. That's why I'm like, okay, yeah, the range of outcomes is pretty big for this upcoming team. It really is. But it's not just guaranteed to be awful. I promise you that because, like I said, I mean, Merklinger was like the 12th rated QB in his class coming out of high school. So he's got potential. He's got serious potential. And like I said, even Aguilar has some potential, Blake. I mean, I am intrigued by Aguilar because even though he threw a lot of turnover where he plays and interceptions at App State, he also had a ton of big time throws. And some of those throws that Nico either didn't throw last year with wide open receivers streaking down the sideline or simply missed, I believe honestly, whoever is quarterback next year, but especially Aguilar with his big time throw percentage, that he'll hit those throws. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
sit here and lie to you and think that we're winning it all this year. Like I'm not gonna.
Sure.
That's not us. It's
No,
not.
no,
But
1,000%. That's and I'm not signing on to saying, "Hey, we're going to win a championship." I just love Rick's drawing that
oh yeah.
parallel.
Oh, no question.
Listen, finding parallels to '98 and kind of conspiracy, maybe not conspiracy, maybe not. That's not the right word, but kind of those prophetic. That's the word I'm looking for. Those prophetic things, like, oh yeah, our first game was against
Yeah,
Syracuse
it
in
was.
'98.
And
So you love to see that, but I did want to say that, hey, look, so D makes a great point that, hey, our talent is decent this year, but it's not as great as 98. Absolutely, 98 was absolutely chock full of talent. But, you know, Rick makes a good second point there about, hey, the team kind of came together after the media was no longer hyper fixated on the star QB. I think there's a possibility that this team this year, again, the talent, absolutely, we still need to up our talent, right? But this team this year could absolutely come together after this crazy situation with Nico and getting abandoned by your leader, your quarterback, and all of that. And then boom, that kind of thing can bring a team together and really elevate them past what their talent usually would allow them to do. And in terms of Aguilar, man, with those big throws like you're talking about, we'll see. I would love to see if Aguilar does win the QB battle. It's going to really speak to Heupel's ability to develop a QB, right? Because if he can, you've talked about this, if Heupel can coach the turnovers out of Aguilar, that'll be huge. And we'll see what Heupel really can do in terms of developing QBs.
yeah, and Rick makes a great point about player development, man. I think that's a big part of this as well. But going back to D's point is we do need more blue chip guys. Like that's
Yeah.
our blue chip percentage is just not where the Ohio States and the Georgias are, or Texas even right now in college football. It's just not where those teams are at. But I'm specifically looking at Jake Merklinger's development as far as player development is concerned because listen, Merklinger has already been here and he's just purely tools wise, Blake, purely based on arm strength, size, everything. He has more tools than Joey Aguilar. Now he is lacking experience, and that's a big part of college football. Like Merklinger just has not started on the FBS level, and Aguilar has. He has for 2 years, so that's a big part of it. But if a guy who's already been in Heupel's system for a year and a half is just incapable of going to start. And he was a 4-star coming out. It's not like he was just some bum recruit coming out. He's a
Right.
blue chip recruit. A 4-star recruit is considered a blue chip recruit. And he's been in the system and he he's not capable of starting. That would concern me greatly if he's just completely incapable or just really bad when he performs.
Yeah. And I think that also, though, speaks to the fact that we are in a good position, right? A lot of fans are worried. The thing is yes, it is a question mark, and yes, it's a concern. But at the end of the day, we, again, unless, like you said, there's some disaster. I mean, a 4-star should be able to come in and start and play well, especially after 2 years in a system. And even Aguilar, who has experience, should be able to get coached up by this coaching staff and come in if he's the starter and help us win games, right? We're not in a crazy dire situation where we just have no quarterback who is not going to be able to, play and help us win games. I mean, it is a little concerning that we have a few less weapons on the perimeter with our wide receivers and a few less weapons in the running back stable. So maybe the importance of the QB is even more elevated than it was last year, but it's not like we're without QB talent.
No question, and part of that is Heupel doing a good job of continuing to attack the most important position and continuing to recruit the quarterback every single season. I mean, he's made it an emphasis to bring in at least one elite quarterback recruit every year. But how concerned are we about us not getting any other players in the portal? Because I'm starting to get kind of concerned. Like we had a bunch of receiver targets, we had a bunch of defensive line targets, and nothing's come to fruition. And that's starting to get a little bit more concerning for me because there's a list out there. I'm going to try to find it on Twitter so I can bring it to the listeners. But there's a list out there of essentially teams transfer portal in and out players. Like how many players are they bringing in versus losing? And dude, our ratio is the worst right now. Like we have lost significantly more than we have brought in. So even if our starters are covered, which they're really not, we haven't covered the Jacoby news, which they're literally talking about in the chat. Jacoby Thomas, our starting safety, he was slated to start this year,
Right.
and he was a Tennessee fan growing up. How concerned are we about that? Because like, why is a guy like that leaving? You know, a guy that's slated to start on defense, made plays last season, grew up a Tennessee fan, and we lose him at the end of the portal window. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about how we've attacked the portal this offseason.
Absolutely. And it's a good point to bring up, and appreciate D in the chat. Just to catch up on chat real quick, we appreciate you, Ryan. I couldn't agree more. He says
Yes.
that, hey, everyone is on this roster because they want to be here and represent the University of Tennessee. And yes, we want people who want to be a Vol, right? But to D's point, and to your point that you were just now making, Austin, about Jacoby Thomas, that is concerning right now. I will say the good news there is that the reports that I've seen thus far have indicated that he's in the transfer portal, but he may re-sign with Tennessee. He may stay with Tennessee.
I've not seen that, but
So
if that's the case, that's fantastic.
yeah, so it's not he's now officially in the portal as of yesterday. But there are signs, according to some reports, that he could potentially stay on the roster at UT. So hopefully, I mean, absolutely, I agree with D in the chat, and I agree with you, Austin, that I hope we make a huge effort to keep him, because that is the kind of guy you want on your roster, a guy who's a projected starter first and foremost. But he is a Vol through and through. He was a Tennessee fan growing up. I want those guys on the team, right? Now, I also want the most talented players, don't get me wrong. But if you're talented and you want to be here, you want to be a Vol, we need to make it happen, man. We need to make it happen. And that's what I think, maybe could have happened with the Merklinger situation, right? With his contract. Is like, hey, he wants to be here. Let's make sure he gets paid. Let's make sure he gets paid, and because we need a good, talented guy on the roster.
That's why I'm concerned about the Jacoby Thomas situation, because it's like, I mean, surely another team wasn't offering him so much money that we
Right.
couldn't match that money. He's a safety. He's not getting quarterback money. He's not getting anywhere close to $1 million. I can promise you that. Whatever his offer is, it's not close to $1 million. So with the leftover Nico money and with us not picking up any other players in the portal, why can we not bring back a guy like Jacoby Thomas? But yeah, you shouted out Ryan's comment. I totally agree, man. Like that's part of it. Like we do want guys that want to be here. It's just it's harder to find this day and age, Blake. Like a guy like Jacoby Thomas who should want to be here. He's gonna start in the SEC. He's playing for his favorite team, but he wants to leave. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just there's so much more things you have to combat in today's college football other than, going up for a team you wanted to play for, and even starting. Like it used to be about playing time. Apparently, it's not about that anymore. Or maybe he wasn't going to play. I don't know, but I mean, from my viewpoint, he was going to start. So hopefully, we can at least retain him. If not, we can start making some portal acquisitions, man. Because like our starters being attacked, but also our depth is just dead. Like I mean, the
Yeah.
receiving core in the offseason, depth wise, just got killed. So I don't know, man. I think somebody mentioned about us hiring a GM. Like we're like one of the few college teams left that hasn't hired a GM. I think that's got to happen. Like I don't know what your take on that is, Blake, but I mean all these other schools around the country are hiring general managers to basically manage the roster because there's just too much on these coaches' plates, man. They have
Right.
to recruit year round basically and also retain their own guys year round on top of trying to prepare a team to win games. It's just absolutely ridiculous the amount of stuff that's on these college coaches' plates at this point.
Well, and now that money is involved too, you gotta, knocked over my mic, folks. Now that money is involved, you got to have someone managing that as well. How
Exactly.
essentially you've only got so much money, right? And so we need to figure out where that money is best spent. That's the comment I was going to make. Is we need to figure out how to best spend that money and make sure that we retain the talent, or again, pick up those guys in the portal. Because I agree, it is a little concerning. I think Rick does make a good point in the chat. A couple messages back, he says, that this squad is full of inexperienced, talent, and this season is going to speak volumes about where our player development is. And I agree, especially with the fact, like you just talked about, Austin, with our depth kind of taking a hit at some of those key position groups like wide receiver. We're going to see how this coaching staff can develop these players, especially players that may not have the stars behind their name, right? Like maybe they're 3-star guys. Are we going to be able to develop them and turn them into players that can excel in our offensive scheme and on our team in general? I think that's going to be huge. I am encouraged by how Tim Banks has been able to develop the defense. I'm definitely encouraged by that. And so I hope that even though we've lost some talent there, that he's going to be able to keep that defensive production up. But I definitely think that question is still lingering for the offense.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I mean, go back to our season preview last year, man. We didn't expect the defense to be where it was at. So, although we're expecting this big regression, we also didn't expect them to be where they were last year. So, who really knows what's happening in the offseason? But when I see just those portal numbers, like we've lost like 22 guys in the portal and we've only brought in like 4 guys, like that's concerning. And those are just estimates. I think that's about where it's at the last I checked. But I mean, that's pretty concerning that you're at least not replacing the talent you're losing. Now we have brought in solid classes, but again, I don't know. Like, listen, I just hope that Heupel can get over the hump in recruiting and start bringing in top 5 classes, because if he does, and then I mean, if he brings in top 5 classes, dude, I think he is plenty well equipped to the X and O side of it. Like the X and O's are fine with Heupel, even though there was some blips last year. Although I think a lot of that might have been the quarterback, but just from things we've seen, highlights we've seen, and things. But like the X and O's are fine. It's just if he can become an elite recruiter, man. If he can become an elite recruiter, then I think we're poised for playoff runs. I really do. But who knows until then.
And you have to wonder why the recruiting has not been able to be at the level that we want it to be. And maybe it is just strictly, the Ohio States and the Oregons just have more money, and that might be the reality. But that's where a GM could definitely come in and help.
Definitely. And it's also hard to believe though, right? Like Oregon makes a little bit of sense because of Phil Knight and stuff. But I mean, University of Tennessee, they got to be racking in cash, man. We're all year around, dude. We're about to talk about the baseballs that have been on a little bit of a losing streak, but we're all year round, dude. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but again, dude, it's a big question mark this year, and that's why we're trying to cover it. We're trying to talk about it, trying to talk about this QB battle, and unfortunately we're not going to know like how the battle's progressing. Like we both predicted, Blake, that we think this battle is not going to conclude until week
Right.
1. Like it's not like we're not going to know until week 1. It's not like Hype was going to come out a month from now and be like, Joey Aguilar is the starter for the 2025 season. It's just not going to happen. And I think that's the right strategy too, to let them duke it out until the end. But other than I hope Merklinger wins the battle, because I've said that before, I also hope it's decisive. Like I hope it's decisive. I hope it's not a situation where we enter the Syracuse game. The QB throws an early pick, and then all of a sudden we're starting to look, okay, maybe it's the backup's time. Like the camera keeps panning to the backup. Okay, he's warming up on the sideline. Like I don't want all that. That just tells me they weren't super confident in their evaluation during the battle. So I hope it's a decisive win, and I do think it's gonna be Merklinger, and I hope it's Merklinger.
Yeah, and I think that would be the only argument in favor of a situation where Heupel comes out after a month and says, "Hey, our guy is Merklinger. We're riding with Merkslinger, baby. We're riding with him." And he comes out and says that it could be a situation where it's like, okay, he wants the team to rally around their leader. He wants the team to be confident in who their leader is going to be. But I think that the guys are going to rally behind whoever does end up being the starter. And so I think you're right that the better strategy is to, hey, get the best out of them. Get the best out of both these QBs. Let them compete all the way up until the time comes. And then, of course, that also gives less, not ammunition, but less kind of indication to your opponents, who they need to prepare for and things like that. Makes their game planning a little bit more difficult. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I think you just lean into this QB battle and you let the play of those two QBs speak for itself. And then we name a starter come week one. And like you said, it's got to be definitive. It's got to be, but if it's not, then that worries me that it's a situation where both guys maybe don't have the best talent or just, haven't performed the best in the off season. That would be worrying to me.
Yeah, I agree, man. And we'll find out week one, man, and we'll keep a pulse on it throughout the offseason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Austin, any other folks we've covered? Hey, Aguilar has officially on paper, he is committed. So he's going to be coming to campus soon. Merklinger got a new NIL deal, right? A quote unquote contract. And then Heupel has officially confirmed that there is going to be a QB battle. And so we are going to be keeping a pulse on this battle in the off season and making sure that, hey, as soon as news comes down, we're going to keep you all updated on what that news is regarding the QB battle. We've kind of stated our opinion here that we think it's going to end up being Merklinger just because of the advantage he has being in the system. We think that he, has the upside. And so we kind of hope that's the way it leans. But at the end of the day, again, the bottom line position is whatever wins us football games. Because, baby, I'm ready to start this streak against Alabama, okay? You've brought up Alabama has a question mark at QB themselves. We've got an opportunity to go down to Bryant-Denny and beat Alabama this year. That's what I want to see, bottom line. I don't care who it is. Put the freshman in there. Put McIntyre in there. I don't care. Just beat Alabama.
We'll
So,
see. It's going to be a tall task.
We'll see. It is going to be a tall task. Folks, we are now going to transition to our next topic for tonight. So we've covered the football news. We now have the duty. Okay, I do consider it a duty. Okay,
It is a duty.
we have to fulfill our duty and cover the base balls. We did have a rough road loss to LSU. It was in Baton Rouge, and it looked like it was going to be an interesting series. Friday night was super interesting until the very end. Saturday looked great, and then Sunday fell apart again. So it was honestly, Austin, it was kind of an interesting series, kind of a wild series. It was definitely a highly anticipated series, and unfortunately, we didn't come out on top this time. Again, there was a couple bright spots, but man, especially that Friday night game, unfortunately, it just melted down in the final inning, man.
Yeah, it was an epic meltdown. But we man up on this channel, man. We talk about losses too. There's a lot of tough losses that we've had to talk about, and we cover it all. We covered the basketball losses, the football losses to Ohio State in the playoffs, and now the baseball loss. But listen, I think the baseball team will bounce back eventually, man. But the problem is it's the pitching and the fielding errors. I mean, that's what it is. We just wasted a Liam Doyle 7 inning, 1 hit outing where, I mean, we're literally up 3-0 at the end of the 8th inning, heading into the ninth, and we give up 6 or unearned runs in that inning, in that ninth inning, dude. I mean, that's just, it's unacceptable, really. I mean, and listen, I'm sure Tony Vitello said that. They don't have to hear it from me, but that ninth inning, and now, and I texted you this, man, but we'll show them a little bit of grace because it was a very odd situation, right? They were playing at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
The weather delay pushed the game back quite a bit. And I went to bed. I was staying up late. I was trying to bring the analysis for the people. And I'm like, okay, I hope we can hold on to this 3-0 lead in the 8th inning. I fall asleep and wake up. It was 6-3. I was pissed. I'll be honest. I was completely furious. And I looked into it and I was like, okay, my assumption is one of our relievers, which, in fairness, outside of Dylan Lloyd, the relievers have been a question. That's just the reality. They have been a question. I assume they just melted down, but it was a combination of that and fielding errors, specifically Dean Curley. He just did not. He had a rough series. Just to be completely honest with you, he had a completely rough series, especially from a fielding perspective. It almost feels like they have to switch things around at this point and get somebody else out there fielding, because outside of Antigua in the infield, it has been pretty rough. And Fisher's been fine at first to base, but outside of that, man, it's been pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. And it's just so unfortunate, dude, because we'll get onto game two in a minute, but it's complete, dude. Your starting pitcher, the electric Liam Doyle, literally the best pitcher in the nation, puts on one of his best performances. He almost throws a no hitter in the game, and it's wasted. You just wasted that, and that's the biggest component in baseball. And it's because we just don't have the relieving. We do not have the relievers in the bullpen to come out and finish games, man. And the errors too, dude. I mean, it was a disaster. Yeah, it was 2 a.m. or whatever it was, and they were probably exhausted, but that's the kind of game that you have to win, man. That's the kind of game. That's the difference between last year and this year, right? I mean, last year's team found a way to win those kind of games, and last year's team. I mean, Blake, we said going into the year, dude, that the pitching depth was a question mark this year. We lost so much pitching, and it is, listen, mid-season, dude, it has happened. Like, the pitching depth has shown its ugly head, and it's kind of derailed this team in a way. But I think they will bounce back.
I think they'll bounce back. I think we have already kind of talked about this, that there were going to be more series losses this season because it's just a tough schedule, man. I mean, LSU is one of the best teams in the country, and we traveled down to Baton Rouge. I mean, of course, it's going to be a tough series, right? But it is concerning. One thing that's concerning me kind of most is just there's something about this team this year, at least these past few series, where the energy just doesn't seem to be there. And the mental fortitude and the desire to win just kind of doesn't. I don't know. It seems like it's missing at points. And like you said, with this Friday night game, just that epic breakdown and mostly fielding errors and things like that. It's tough, man. It's tough to see that from a team that typically in the past has been able to find a way to win in those kind of situations. So, is it a fluke? Maybe. Maybe they're in a slump. Maybe it's something like that, or maybe it's just pure bad luck. At the end of the day, it could be just the way the ball bounces, so to speak, right? So it is unfortunate, and we do hope they will bounce back. In this series, they did bounce back the next day. Let's talk about the bright spot, which was Saturday. Marcus Phillips had a huge game.
Yeah, Marcus Phillips has been fine. When Tennessee fans talk about the bad pitching in Tennessee, and they're like, "Oh, everyone's been bad outside of Liam Doyle." Leave Marcus Phillips' name out of that. Marcus Phillips has been fine. I mean, even last week against Kentucky, he had 0 earned runs through 5 innings, and we lost that game. I mean, that's, again, it's been a combination of the bats being cold at some points, and the relievers have just been not good. But yeah, in game two we did bounce back. The bats got a little hotter. Marcus Phillips did his thing, and we were able to finish that game out off the back of a Cannon Peebles grand slam. So that was pretty awesome to see in that game. So yeah, man, it was a good bounce back. But to me, the rest of the year, it's funny because, again, this was kind of the analysis going into the year, and it was kind of like, oh, well, maybe this isn't the case, but it is the case. This team is a Friday and Saturday team. Like, it's gonna need the Friday and Saturday game if we want to win a series. And it didn't happen this weekend. It should have happened this weekend. It didn't, and I wouldn't even call it a fluke. I would just say it's mental mistake of fielding errors, routine plays that dudes have made. I mean, Dean Curley was our shortstop last year, Blake. That's the most important position in the infield, and he did that as a true freshman. I think he's just in his own head. And he's been changing up some things. He changed up his intro song to last year's intro song and things like that. So, and baseball players are a pretty suspicious guy, or like superstitious guys, I should say. So, but anyway, yeah, Dean Curley, I think he's bouncing back to 9. I may or may not have the Tuesday game on my phone right now to bring y'all a little bit of that as well. Against Northern Kentucky, I will say it was looking a little bit dicey there for a second, but we're winning right now. But yeah, dude, I think, and you make a good point too. The schedule is difficult. We are going to lose some of these series. I mean, it's LSU, dude. They were a top 10 team, but you've lost 2 series in a row, and if you lose another one, it's like then things start to get really ugly really quickly. But I just have no confidence in Sundays, man. I have no confidence in Sundays right now. Now, I will say it could possibly get better because this Sunday they started AJ Russell, and AJ Russell is a fascinating story. He's dealt with injuries pretty much his entire time here on campus. He's coming back most recently off Tommy John surgery, and he had an absolutely incredible recovery from that as far as like the speed in which he recovered from it, and he's back in pitching again. He started in this game and he was fine. He was fine to start the game. The only problem with AJ Russell right now is he's still limited. Like they still have him on a very limited pitch count, so he wasn't kept in there for very long. And then right when he was taken out, that's when Sunday just completely crumbled. Because we were up in that game too, but again, like the pitching depth is just not there. But if AJ Russell can become a true starter on Sundays, Blake, like if he can start giving us 5 to 7 innings on Sundays, which he might still be a ways away from that, then I think all of a sudden, okay, we can bounce back and we can start like being a really strong team again. Because I thought Tegan Coons is going to bring that. He's just kind of, he's a true freshman. But he fell off a little bit, to be completely honest, in SEC play. But if AJ Russell can become that third guy, dude, all of a sudden I have quite a bit of confidence in this team again.
And that would be great timing, right? Because we're rapidly approaching the end of the season. We don't have too much left to really. I mean, it's at this point, it's about a half a month left. Call it 3 weeks, and so it would be good timing if we can get that for the postseason. Get AJ Russell back into that kind of rotation, especially on Sunday, like you're talking about, would be great. But honestly, dude, like you're talking about as well, what would also be great is if these bats can get hot again.
Yeah.
Because, man, I mean, that's just been tough to see. And look, we were spoiled last year, right? Last year was just otherworldly in terms of batting, okay? Between Christian Moore, Blake Burke, it was
Billy
just
Amick,
Dylan
Dylan
like
Dryling,
it was
Kavaris
just
Tears. We'll just name guys all day. I mean, it was a loaded lineup, dude. It was absolutely loaded.
embarrassment of riches for sure. And so we were a little spoiled by that. But man, I mean, you still got Dean Curley, you got the great Hunter Ensley. I mean,
Andrew Fisher.
Andrew Fisher hits bombs. Gavin was looking like the best hitter there for a while until he got injured. I mean, so I don't know. It's tough to see these bats go cold because several of these situations that have lost us these series have been because of that. If we could just get a few more runs, we would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have been very poor with batters in scoring position and leaving bases loaded and stuff. And dude, we used to, even in the beginning of this year, last year, and into the beginning of this year, we were really good in 2-out situations, like 2-out rallies and innings. And that just has kind of went away. So, but luckily, it's not the end of the season, man. We're still in the regular season. We still have the SEC tournament. I think we still have potential to work our way up into hosting a regional, which is going to be important. That's extremely important. So we have some work to do. There's no doubt about that. There is some work to be done. But Hoover's just around the corner, man. And I would love to see us bounce back before Hoover, man, and get hot at that time, because it'll be crucial come postseason play. Because at the end of the day, winning these series would be nice, especially that would avoid Kentucky trolls in the chat, right? Like we wouldn't have a Kentucky troll in the chat if the baseball team didn't lose to Kentucky. That's a fact. They wouldn't exist. But unfortunately, it does. But as nice as that would be, winning all these regular season series, what matters is when we get in the postseason, man. That's what really, really matters. Making a run in Hoover. I would love to make another run in Hoover, and then ultimately make a run for Omaha in the big tournament. So that's the ultimate goal, and hopefully they can get hot right before. the postseason
And
starts.
yeah, and look, folks, before we got the news about Merklinger signing a new NIL deal and all that, this episode was going to be solely focused on baseball, and the question was going to be, can these baseballs still make Omaha? And Austin, I think they absolutely can, and in fact, I think they can still play with anyone in the country.
Agreed.
Are we as dominant as last year? No. But the fact of the matter is last year we were the number one overall seed. But Austin, we were the first number one overall seed to win in several
Several
years.
years. Yep.
And so it's, you don't need baseball is so the margins are pretty razor thin when you're talking
Yes.
about the top 10 teams in the country, right? And so we need to get to Omaha, man, and then we can make anything happen, you know?
I agree. I agree. What's up, Lynn, in the chat with a football emoji? If you missed it, Lynn, we talked about football for about 35 minutes. You can always scroll back and watch that. But yeah, because we broke down the Merklinger news today and Heupel officially saying there's a quarterback battle. But yeah, dude, I like you made a really good point there. The margins are razor thin. The margins are razor thin in these games, dude. I mean, if we don't make a couple fielding errors in this LSU series, all of a sudden the LSU series is the focal point of this episode, and we're happy because we bounced back and
Right.
we just beat LSU in the box. But that didn't happen. That's just the reality. It didn't happen. And LSU deserves credit for that. But two things can be true. They deserve credit. They played well, and we also choked in the ninth inning in that game one, and
Yeah.
that's just the reality. Because, dude, we just have to stay out of our own way. Liam Doyle is going to do his thing on Fridays, man. And Saturdays are a little bit more of a question, but Marcus Phillips, for the most part, has as well. And yeah, exactly. The SEC is tight. That's a very good point in the chat. It's so tight. It's the margins are razor thin. Everyone's good. That's why it was so impressive what we did last year, Blake. Only losing one SEC series, winning Hoover, and then going on to win the national championship. But that's the greatest Tennessee baseball team ever. That's just
Yeah.
the reality. This team was looking like early in the season that they could possibly live up to that potential, but they haven't, and that's okay. They're still really good, though. That's the thing. They are still really good. We're just spoiled because, to your point, Blake, we're coming off last year's lineup, which everyone in the lineup could hit bombs, and they did game after game. So, and the pitching was just a lot more deep. So yeah, we're
Look,
just a little bit spoiled right now.
and LSU fans can relate to that because they
Yeah.
have won the national championship in recent years, and you get spoiled. You come off that national championship season, and it's like, man, you wanna go back to back. And here's the deal: I do think we still have absolutely could
Make
have a
Omaha
possibility.
without
We
question.
can make Omaha, and once you get to Omaha, anything can happen, right? So, I mean, let's do it. Let's go for that back-to-back national championship. But it is, obviously it's difficult coming off that national championship season. We are definitely spoiled, but at the end of the day, dude, Tony V is still the best baseball coach in the country. That is without a doubt. And if he can continue to, we got to remember too, dude. This team is young. This baseball team is young.
Yes,
I mean, we
very
lost a
young.
lot of talent from last year, and so we are very young, dude. I mean, if Tony V continues to recruit like he does, hit guys in the transfer portal like we did this year, and then develop these young players, I mean, look out, dude. We might have a dynasty in the making.
That's really true. That's a very, very true. We are an extremely young team, but I really believe the X factor at this point to me is going to be AJ Russell. Man, I'm fascinated to
Yeah.
see where he goes from here because he was super solid to start the day on Sundays, and if we can get three solid start, like, well, not just solid. Let me rephrase that. Let me not disrespect the great Liam Doyle, the best pitcher in the country, number one prospect, college prospect in the MLB right now or going into the MLB. Liam Doyle is fantastic. That we didn't have a guy like that last year. Drew Beam was great, but he wasn't Liam Doyle, and that's not disrespecting Drew Beam. It just literally speaks to how good Liam Doyle really is. But if we can get a Sunday starter, dude, a lot of SEC teams don't have that. And AJ Russell, that's his potential, Blake. He was like a super highly rated recruit, man, and like he has all the potential in the world. He's just dealt with so many injuries, and that's why they're being so cautious with him. And if he is full health, like fully healthy, and can play on Sundays for 5 to 7 innings, dude. then all of a sudden I think we will finish how we started this season, man. I think we will end up being one of the best teams in the country again. And again, like I'll end with your point, dude. A couple different plays here and there in the Kentucky series, the LSU series, the A&M series, although A&M kind of put it to us the last two games. I'll just be completely honest. Listen, the margins are thin, man. A couple different plays here and there, all of a sudden, we're winning those series. And I said that's the last thing. I have to shout out once again Ariel Antigua, man. So many great plays in this series once again. That's that guy I'm not worried about in the field. And that's why you have to leave that guy out there. I don't care what his batting average is. You have to leave Ariel Antigua out there because without him, that infield is just it's not great defensively. It's great batting. It's just not great defensively. So that's why I feel like Ariel Antigua has to be on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. You make really great points, and I agree with you across the board. And let's see if AJ Russell can come back from injury and put us in this spot. Shout out to Rhonda in the chat. Rhonda, we appreciate you joining and engaging with the channel. And yeah, Rhonda says, let's finish how we started. Absolutely. Would love to finish this baseball season how we started. And I think it is possible. It is possible if a couple guys can kind of get out of their own heads, like you're talking about. If we can kind of, if AJ Russell can get healthy, all these different things, I think we're in a really good spot to make a run, hit Omaha, and maybe make some noise in Omaha. So we will see about that. Folks, we're going to continue to cover the baseballs. Again, we have got a few weeks left in the regular season, and then we'll be headed to the postseason. And you bet your butt, me and Austin are going to be covering the postseason for these baseballs. We're wanting to see that back-to-back national champion, baby. We got to see that back-to-back national championship.
And not to worry anyone right now, but we are currently in a barn burner with Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky has made it 5-6. So, listen, if we drop this Tuesday game, I am going to be pretty sick. Tuesday games don't matter as much, I would say, but they do matter. Oh, absolutely. We're glad you're part of it too, Ron. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, man, if we drop this Northern Kentucky game, dude, it might be doom and gloom for the baseball team, man. I'm not gonna lie.
We're not going to turn to doom and gloom. Okay, we're going to trust that that we can pull out that game. We're trying to turn back positive. We're still hoping for the back-to-back national championships for the baseballs. So, but we are going to continue to cover the baseballs, folks. We've got the outside of this Tuesday game that's happening right now as we're live streaming. We've got the Auburn series coming up this weekend. That's going to be another tough one, Austin.
Exactly.
Auburn is a good baseball team, and so it's going to be a tough series coming up this weekend. We will catch you all. We'll definitely get an episode out to you all after that. But yeah, man, excited to see if these baseballs can get back on track. We're gonna end this episode before the end of the game, just in case it doesn't go right. But listen, folks, I do want to touch on kind of this real quick, which is, I know, there's some points during this live stream that, we're talking about tough subjects, right? The fact that, hey, we haven't had as much activity in the transfer portal as we would want to, right? We haven't brought in players like we needed to. We touched on that. We touched on, obviously, this baseball team being in a bit of a slump right now, right? These are things that are not.
They're bumps in the road.
They're bumps in the road. They're not as good and fun to talk about as when things are going well, right? But at the end of the day, this podcast, we're committed to covering volunteer sports, whatever the case may be, because at the end of the day, dude, we love the Vols, win or lose, right? We're ride or die with the Vols, and so we're always going to be covering the Vols regardless of what's happening. And so we hope that you all will join us for that. Blake Bursinger jumping in the chat here saying, did you just say track like track and field? Blake is really wanting, by the way, nice name. Blake is really wanting us to cover track and field. And listen, again, like we talked about last time, Bursinger, Tennessee wins it all, baby. We're an everything school. And so, you know what? We might just cover track and field just for you, because we're winning there too. We're winning everywhere, baby.
Yeah, and just to touch on what you were just saying, though, dude, I think our listeners want us to be honest. And when things aren't going well, we'll tell you they're not really going well right now. They're not going great. But at the end of the day, we're still. I mean, let's not get it mistaken, brother. The only school in history, we got to bring this to the show. The only school in history to have a first rounder in basketball, women's basketball, football, and baseball in the same season, the Tennessee Volunteers. So don't forget, this is still the everything school, brother. This is why Vol Talk is 365, because we got baseball, we got football, we got basketball, we got women's basketball, we got softball. We're still the number one softball team in the country. So don't forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't get it twisted. There might be some negative things that happen here and there. We're going to cover it. But yeah, like Rhonda says, Lady Vols are on fire. Everything's on fire at Tennessee.
Everything's on fire.
We are the quintessential everything school. So definitely a lot to be excited about. A lot of fun happening in volunteer sports. And we appreciate y'all's support. We appreciate you guys supporting the podcast. And to Austin's point as well, look, we're not negavols. We're not going to be doom and gloom all the time like some Vols fans are. And we're not going to be kind of stupid and assume, oh yeah, we're definitely going to win the national championship this year.
Every year.
We're not going to do every year, right? We're not going to do that either. We're going to be honest because we love the Vols, and we're just going to be honest about what the truth is. But that doesn't change the fact that we love the Vols. And we're excited to cover volunteer sports for you guys. Yeah, Rhonda says no battered Vol syndrome. Absolutely. We try, I won't lie.
We're recovering, Rhonda.
We're recovering BVS
because me and Blake went through the Butch Jones days, so we're still recovering from our BVS from those days. But
and
yeah,
look, bro,
slowly but surely.
Look, bro, I vividly remember us winning the 98 national championship, okay? So imagine my consternation when we are having to go through the Butch Jones era and that absolutely train wreck and Derek Dooley and the like. So BVS is real, but again, on this podcast, we're committed to – look, we're not going to do clickbait, okay? We're going to commit to you guys that we're never going to do clickbait. We're never going to do, just kind of ridiculous stuff. We're going to try to stay honest. And we're going to try to just always constantly engage you all with fun chat, fun banter, but also honest and truthful kind of coverage of volunteer sports. So, again, we appreciate you guys joining. Austin, do you have any final thoughts before we close it out here?
No, man. Fun episode.
Yep, fun stuff. Again, we covered today, folks. We covered the new contract for Merklinger. We covered the QB battle and all of that football news. Heupel confirming that it will, in fact, be a QB battle. And then we did cover this tough road loss to LSU for the baseball team. Folks, like we said, we've got Auburn coming up this weekend for the baseball team. And as always, we're going to be covering all things related to volunteer sports, including off-season football news. So definitely be sure to give us a subscription if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications. And whenever we go live, you'll get notified so we can talk to you guys about everything that's going on with volunteer sports. But, folks, we will see y'all on the other side of the Auburn series coming up this weekend. Until then, as always, baby,